We have a Mark II Mountain Dog in the background. We have a Mark I Mrs. Nutnfancy in the background. She's putting finishing touches on the Nutnfancy garden. Did I read that title right, Nutnfancy? You're doing a video on gardening? Yeah, I am. Welcome to the Nutnfancy Project homesteading channel. I have swallows swooping by my head, which I love. I love swallows. You might catch, I don't know, glimpses of all kinds of fun things in the background. Again, dogness out there, Mrs. Nutnfancy out there. The homesteading channel in TMP. Nutnfancy, seriously, are you going to do homesteading videos? Listen, I did an update like in 2010. I used to do them like, I don't know, every 6 months when the project was new. I told you there were a lot of things planned. This was one of them. All along, I was planning on doing gardening videos. It just takes a long time for me to find a place to do a garden, to find time in the immense content flow in the project. So I don't know, it really depends. The future, if TMP survives through this clown world, the answer is yes. I intend to do more homesteading style videos. Just my approach. I'm not the expert. Just how I'm doing things, maybe. It really depends. Depends on the views on this particular video. If it gets over 100,000 views in 1 week, then I know there's a lot of interest. Maybe I'll be motivated to put more together. And also, there's some amazing homesteading channels, a lot of them. I think it's actually a saturated topic in YouTube and online overall, so I don't know if you need my voice. The thing is I've had a ton of people, viewers in the project, ask specifically for this video. Hey Nutnfancy, what about gardening? You've really never talked about it. I have food storage videos out. I have how to store up water. I have some other ones planned as well, like sanitation. Well, without rule of law, when the grid goes down type videos. As you know, I'm a big believer in self-sufficiency. I'm a big hater of our big government we have now. I don't trust it. I don't trust our food supply. I don't trust our monetary system. I don't trust the central bank. I don't trust our economy. I don't trust anything. Just like you. That's why you're here watching this video. Now, the leftists and the rhinos and whoever you want, the globalists, all of them are in one huge cabal fighting to control you and actually take away all your rights, all your freedoms, make you eat bugs, all the stuff you know. They don't want you to have this. They don't want you to have self-sufficiency in food. They want you to be reliant upon them, their system. They want you to eat what they tell you to eat. All the additives, the chemicals, what are they putting in the food? Like the mRNA vaccine too, Mrs.?
And the cows supposedly.
Yeah, they're putting it like in the beef supply, all that other shit. This is one small step. I'm not saying this is going to be like the end all way for our family to produce our food, but what I'm saying is that it's a step, and that's all I'm encouraging you to do, is take a step in the direction of growing your own vegetables, your own fruits. And so in this video, I'm going to attack the philosophy of use as I see it, as Mrs. Nutnfancy sees it. Our approach of the garden, I'll do a walk around. I'll show the specifics of our system, what we come up with, why we built it the way we did. Again, we're not the end-all experts, but we're pretty happy with the end result. It's after spending, well, a fair amount of money and working pretty hard. Would you say that's true, Mrs. Nutnfancy?
Yes.
How long did we work yesterday?
Too long.
Talk loud so they can hear you.
I don't know.
This is all day. Huh?
12 hours.
12-hour day yesterday. Okay, so if you're into self-sufficiency, having your own food supply, even if you live in an apartment, hear me out. Watch the video from start to finish as I kindly request, because there's a ton of information in it. There's I wouldn't say a ton of experience, but some experience in it, because again, I'm not like Joe Farmer, Joe Gardener, but I am a logical person. I approach things in a systematic fashion. In other words, I talk systems. So this is a gardening system. So your gardening system may be completely different than mine because of where you live, the plot you have, other factors that would influence your build. Come here, dog. Hello, lover. Jump, jump. She's down here. I don't know if you can see her. We love Macy. She's a sweet dog. Okay, let's get into it. Thank you so much, before we get going, for clicking on the video, watching the video. This will post probably, I don't really know, maybe on the B channel, maybe on both channels, but subscribe, hit the notification bell. I've been shadow banned for years and years, over a decade here in YouTube. So help me out. I don't believe anything they do, but at least you can do is hit the notification bell, become a donor. The donors actually provided funds to buy all this. So all this was paid by donors. Thank you, donors. So the link is below. Patreon still going strong after a number of years, so thank you very much. On we go. Philosophy of use. Okay, I hit on it already. Self-sufficiency. I think that's what you understand. That's what you're about, is the ability to not have to rely on going to the grocery store for your stuff. Okay, I'm going to hit on the work concept, but let's just tackle that first. Self-sufficiency. That if power goes down, the food supplies on your grocery shelves in the produce aisle, it evaporates. If there's a huge, massive earthquake in California, in the Central Valley, where much of our produce is produced, what's going to happen to fruits and vegetables, availability and prices? It's going to go way up, and the availability is going to go way down. Now, let's just say that's all that happens. So there's no other economic downfall or anything like that, which is all very possible, but let's just stick with that. So let's just say, as people have surmised, that California slides into the ocean. Okay? You're going to find that at your grocery store, you're not going to have broccoli, cabbage, lettuce, probably fruits. Strawberries will go bye-bye. Most of that comes from California. And that's just one small sliver advocating for your self-sufficiency of growing your own produce as best you can. Okay, and I want to hit on that too. That's another part of the POU I'm hitting, is just do the best you can. This is the best we can do right now. With the time I have, with the funds I have, it's just the best we can do. But having something and taking a step towards that self-sufficiency and having a food supply that is being grown already will give you a peace of mind, and it will help you, it will feed you when things get bad. Let me say this too. You need lead time. So you're not going to grow a garden in like a week. So lead time is going to be measured in months, probably. What's the gestation on that one squash? You said 50 days?
No, or longer than that.
What was it?
I don't know. It's usually a couple months.
Couple months. So you need to plan it out, and you need to get going probably right about now. Like if it's growing season where you're at, plant something. And that's what I did last year. So this really cool garden that you see behind us, it wasn't like that last year. I actually did an experimental garden with tomatoes. I had peppers in it, and it did pretty good. I used a Kubota, dug up the soil, mixed in cow manure, grew it, and it produced very well. But I learned some things from that. I learned, well, those darn tomato plants get really big. I need to space them out more. I need to have a better fence to keep out buggers, i.e. critters, and a plan. I'll talk more about that. So lead time. Start earlier rather than later. I know a lot of you guys will probably store up seeds, and that's cool. I need to put my glasses back on. Sorry. It's bright out here. It's hot out here. Yeah, that's why I got my brimmed hat on, my gardening hat on. You have those seeds, and I know you're thinking, well, I have some seeds I can plant, but again, you're looking at 2 months, maybe longer, before you actually get a crop, a harvest out of that. Now, I'm guilty of this, and I'm not going to sit here before the camera and say, oh, I'm an expert in gardening, and I've always had fruits and vegetables. No. Here's the deal. We live in a modern society. This is another part of POU. A modern society, what we do when we need carrots, lettuce, tomatoes, we just go to the store. And I'm going to be honest with you. My approach right now, my take, is that I think you're going to save money by just going to the dang store. Now, some of you guys will go, oh, no, man, I save so much money doing my own gardening. Do you? Here's the thing. Like, if you grow from, like, a pot, like a small plant, like some of those, I'll show them to you in detail as we go along here. But some of the small tomato plants, they're like 10 bucks a piece. If you get them big, they're $25 a piece. What was that? What were the small squashes? Weren't they like 7 bucks or 9 bucks?
I don't know.
Most of those small plants you have back there, they're not, I wouldn't say they're expensive, but each one's like 10 bucks.
They used to be cheap.
They used to be cheap, but now, thanks to Biden effing up everything and all the actually it's Obama with his hand up Biden's rectum running the show with all the globalists. Sorry for the rant. Actually, not sorry. That's why we are where we are. I mean, if it was a normal economy, I'd be much less motivated to garden on my own. I don't think you're going to save money. And your time is worth money. If it isn't, change. Do something to make money with your time. So gardening is an ongoing work project. You just don't plan it and then you come back like, 2 months later and everything's perfect. It needs constant maintenance, constant watering. Your watering system's going to go down. It's going to have problems. You got to perform maintenance on it. Your fencing will be damaged by deer jumping in there. You're going to have to deal with wildlife assaults, wind, which in this location is insane. It gets up to 80 miles an hour. It can rip your whole garden out. Hail, rain, pests, insects. All that's a lot of work maintaining. This is one reason we kind of waited until now in TMP to do it. But the time is right. Mrs. Nutnfancy and I discussed it. We did our experimental garden last year. Turned out great. But this year we said, we're getting serious. We're not effing around no more. We're going to get a system. And this is what you're seeing behind us. Again, I'll show you all the details. If you're in a super hurry, you don't want to hear the philosophy behind our garden, just drag the bar, go to the part where I'm talking about specifics. But again, I'd watch it start to finish. It's work. So know that. If you guys have children, however, let's say you have 2 kids, 3 kids, this is a great way to teach them work ethic. It's, guess who's gardening? Not you. Your kids are. They're coming out, they're weeding, they're checking the water, they're harvesting. You teach them how you want the garden maintained, and it's up to them. Now, they're not going to know how to plant, how to set all this stuff up initially unless they're geniuses. But you walk them through that and have them beside you. Our kids are grown, but if my kids were young, they'd be out here doing what she's doing. They'd be doing all this. It's a great way to teach them to work. Along with that, maybe you live in a location where you can get chickens. And can you imagine? So you have a source of eggs, you have a chicken coop, but that's maintenance. You have to feed the chickens, take care of them, provide exercise. I honestly think that chickens should have outdoor time. They should have grass they can go peck around on. I don't like the idea of chickens being like cooped up all the time, living a miserable existence. I don't want to live that way. I don't think a chicken does either. But teach your kids, I mean, if you had a chicken coop and a garden, there you go. You're teaching your kids work right there. And that's a valuable asset in their lives. And you're teaching them self-sufficiency and how they can provide for themselves in the future as well. Just know it's work. I mentioned this. Out here we have a ton of wildlife attacks. We've got ground squirrels galore. There's a trap right here. You can't see, it's probably out of frame. I'll show it to you. That's set up. I have a rat trap inside to hopefully kill a ground squirrel, because they'll come in and all the work and effort that we've put into this, they'll come in and raid the whole thing. True or false, Mrs.?
Yes.
Do you care if I kill those critters or not? Speak loud.
Depends on the critter.
We're not, again, I've said this in multiple videos, we're not like, oh, we want to kill everything. We're not like that. But when they come to our location, like out here in Wyoming, and they start causing problems in our garden, then I'm sorry, they got to be removed. And they start digging holes and tunneling and creating structural issues on structures, underneath them. No. So, but we have deer. We love our deer, but I don't want a deer to jump in here and just eat everything. We have birds coming in. We have skunks, blah, 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 all that. So you're going to have a plan of attack, how to protect your garden. Maybe you live back east and your big thing is rabbits. You have rabbits coming in, whatever's going to be eating your crops. Have a way to plan for it. We did, fence, and know that it's just going to happen. Another concept, philosophy of use, gardening. Use what's available. Now, what you're seeing behind us is, I think it's gardeninginminutes.com. Is that right, Mrs.? Gardening in Minutes, I think,
don't know.
is the website. And they had these planters, and they had the watering grid system included. Now, I'm going to tell you, this was not inexpensive. But I looked at me sourcing something like that, the corrugated, and I didn't want like galvanized, but you could have. I liked that it was painted. And then, you know, making the grid system myself, the watering grid system, which is totally doable, but it's a production. And I just looked at my time. I was like, no, I'm just going to buy this. That being said, you don't have to use anything special. Here's how you know if your gardening system is working. Are you producing a consistent harvest? If the answer is yes, you're probably doing it pretty good. If you're not, you're probably doing something wrong. Maybe your soil mix is wrong. Maybe you're not getting enough water. Maybe you're getting too much water. Maybe you're not addressing the pest problem you have, the insect problem you have. There you go. But use what's available. Like I had this roll of cardboard. This is like treated cardboard, really heavy. So I'm running around the bottom. You can't see it, but you'll see it in the background there. I'm running around the bottom for several reasons to help keep ground squirrels out so they don't immediately see it. I mean, they could easily jump this fence easy and crawl in. I know this. But also for weeds and seeds which blow. Okay, we'll get into specifics of that. But use what's available. Just look around. Like, what do I have to plant in? Maybe it's a 50-gallon barrel cut in half. I can just do 2 small plots. Maybe you do 4 or 6 50-gallon barrels, whether they're plastic or made out of metal, like drums. Make sure there's no like oil or stuff in there that you don't want in your food. And then just put your planting soil in there and go to town. Get a watering system. Now, we're talking about a soil system. You also have to have the hydroponic system, which is like water only. You have vertical systems. You have wall systems that don't use soil, and they have water drippers. They have a way to get nutrients to the plants. For our location, what we're doing, we're going traditional. But click around. There's a bazillion articles on gardening, and I'm just scratching the surface with this. Again, if there's a ton of interest, I get a ton of views on this, I'll do more gardening videos. I'll show you what we're growing, what we're making from it. But if not, it's more watch and gun reviews. Yeah. Okay, there's no additives to the food I'm growing. More and more I'm hearing about all the crap they're putting in our food. We touched base on that earlier, but it's a real thing, both in produce and our meats, that those globalists, and again, if you think that's an extreme term, you need to do research. You need to pull your head out of your ass. This is a real thing. The globalists are really doing this. They have an agenda. It's a worldwide agenda. It's well funded with billions upon billions of dollars. Part of it is attacking our food supply, because when you control the food supply, you control people, right? You control the price and you control people. They know this. That's why they're doing what they're doing. Along with that, they're putting additives in there. Fake stuff and pesticides. When you grow your own stuff, you're in charge. If you don't want it in your fruits and vegetables, don't put it there. You know, good old manure is God's gift to your garden, really. It's amazing. Yeah. We're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes in your gardening process. Deal with it. Just learn, regroup, do better. Maybe you have a crop fail. Maybe your tomato plant gets destroyed. Maybe you plant the wrong things, the wrong type of vegetable. You're learning. You know, we're always learning. In life, we're always learning. None of us are really experts in anything. We're just like, it's a snapshot in time of where we are and the expertise that we've developed. Okay, that's good enough for philosophy. I think we laid a pretty strong groundwork. And now we're going to talk about our system and why we went with this. The specifics on the homesteading channel of the Nutnfancy Project's garden. We went with above ground for several reasons. One is when we go ground level where we are at right now, it will, again, you have a bunch of weeds. Let me unclip here and I'm going to show you the kind of weed action that we have here. Look at this. This is the crap that we have to put up with. I have my horseshoes getting painted right here. But look at this. So this is not good. We have every type of weed you can imagine. We have goat stickers, 2 other varieties of stickers. It's just garbage. It's just constant. And so by us coming off the ground level in our raised planter system, we get further away from those weeds, just drifting onto the ground. It's also easier for Mrs. Nutnfancy to garden. It's easier for me. She was a big advocate for this, were you not?
Yes.
So she when I said, hey, we're doing a garden, we're gonna get real, what did you say? You're like, we're doing above ground, right?
Yes, raised bed, for sure.
She said raised beds. There's that trap I told you about. So that's a live catch trap, and that has caught several ground squirrels. The skunks have not gone in it yet. And then I have a rat trap right here. I'm gonna improve those and get bigger traps. But our system is above ground, corrugated steel, bolted together, and we're happy with that. Now, we're also creating a perimeter of non-weeds around our garden. This was a ton of work. A ton of work. We got the Kubota out, we scraped the dirt, dug it down, got rid of all the weeds. Then we put down weed guard. So weed guard's underneath this. Underneath where I'm standing right here, is it the end all? No. Weeds will still populate on top of this. Eventually soil will get blown on this. We'll have weeds growing on this. It's just the best we can do right now. And remember, that's one of our philosophy approaches, is just do the best you can do. Now your system may be completely different. Maybe you're planting in your flower bed. Maybe you have an area for that. Your layout may be ground level because it makes more sense. Back east, I think it would make more sense. Just out here, and like Mrs. was talking about, this makes the best sense for us right now. Less weeds, less access to critters. You can also do like planting boxes, hanging baskets that you can plant things in. So don't forget about that too, dudes. And we talked about the hydroponic vertical planters and the kits you can buy. You can buy kits that are completely hydroponic. So this is our layout right now. Now, let's talk about the fence right now. This goes into what I call protection. So what we're doing is just trying to protect it from our critters. This is not a strong fence. This is not a chain link fence, which I think are ugly. They're definitely harder to install than this one, more expensive, more time consuming. But who knows, maybe in future years I have to upgrade to a chain link fence because this one just doesn't get it done. So this is welded wire, hammered in steel stakes. Not perfect, but it's a pretty darn good start. You know, it's a good way to keep out the deer easily. I mean, they can easily jump over this, easily. And they probably will. But damn, son, I just doing the best I can do. And this welded wire fence, one of the things I don't really care about, or I don't like about it, is that it's really hard to tension it because these welds will snap. Also, you bring your stakes out of true. So you're gonna have like wavy lines in it. Just deal with it. This gate right here, I actually went to Lowe's and they had it on sale for like 18 bucks. So I was like, hey, I can use that for my garden. Remember the concept in POU, use what's available, try to save money. I was like, that's a ready-made gate. And you can see how I adapted it here. So I put in treated 4x4s, set them in concrete. Both of these are in concrete, sturdy as can be. And then I just adapted a chain link fence to the fencing perimeter. Worked out great. Just got some regular hinges. I had another one. These hinges don't even match. Don't care. Don't care. I'll tell you what, Mrs. Nutnfancy loves this. She loves how it turned out. That's important because, you know, she's probably going to be my primary gardener. Gives her a place to come and putter around, complain, non-stop complaints about what's not going well in the garden. But yeah, you may not need a fence where you're at, but again, where I'm at, totally. And then I told you about this hardened cardboard. I think I'm gonna have to replace that. I don't think it's gonna be that durable. I just have it zip tied on there for now. Whatever. I have this big one right here because this is a wind guard. This is one of the things I learned last year. So my tomato plants at this exact location got very damaged by high winds. And they were bent over, the stalks broke. So we actually planted right about here. I moved the plot over more. And it is about the size of one of these planters. So this year I have a wind block zip tied on. I'm gonna zip tie the bottom. We'll see how it works. I mean, I had this ram board stuff already. Cool. Here's a look at this side of the fence. Gravel. Just adapt your garden to what you have, and you don't have to have one this big. Now, if you want to do some like mathematical calculations of yield, how many people you're feeding, go ahead. I don't really have info for you on that. I'm sure there's some channels that would, but you might want to consider, just generally speaking, how much you can actually eat, how much you can preserve. If you have a freeze dryer, that's very important. If you have a way to dry it, maybe can it, that's important. So again, part of that self-sufficiency, a lot of folks will can, but again, that's a lot of time and a lot of work. Now let's go to watering. One of the lessons I learned last year with my tomato build is that I had a fan sprinkler in the middle of them, and it would go, and it did a good job watering, but the wind was always blowing, always causing problems. And so I lost a lot of what is very precious water out here in the West to evaporation. So when I went out researching for an above ground garden, I wanted a ground watering system, like a drip system. And so that's what you're looking at right now. So that is, well, again, gardening in minutes, again, I think is the name of it.com. That is their pre-built watering grid system that drips. And you can see I built that T, and I need to upgrade the pipes on that because these pipes that I got from the hardware store are horrible. The stuff you get from gardening in a minute, that stuff is quality, dude. All their stuff is super quality, like really thick. Their junctions are as high quality as you can find. Anyways, this saved me a ton of time, but just take a look at this. This is something you could build. It's not rocket science. It's simple plumbing. It's just a square watering system, drip system. And on my system, it's going to be on a timer. So right now I'm going to be watering probably twice, maybe 3 times a day. And we'll just see how it goes. Also, I'm trying to figure out if like those plants in the middle of the grid, if they're getting enough water. I think they are. You can water by hand. I think that's basically for retired people who have nothing but time on their hands. I mean, that's a lot of work, dude. A lot of work. I don't recommend it, but maybe you have that time, so knock yourself out. I've seen some homesteaders on YouTube, they do irrigation, like ditches. There's a dude I saw down in Arizona, and he diverted water, and all his crops are fed by a rain collection cistern that he diverts into ditches. Hey, well done. So again, he's using what's available. He's being smart. He built a rain cistern system, which I might do out here later. By the way, I might do solar system out here too, bro. We'll see. But try to do the auto watering, something you don't have to worry about. It just does it. Otherwise, you're probably going to have problems. That's how we're doing the watering right now, subject to change. Soil. Now, what I did on this soil is I really wanted to get a pre-mix, okay? Ideally, I would have had a mix from some place that would deliver it, and I just throw it in the planter boxes. Out in this location, we did not have that. It was very difficult to source good soil. What I ended up doing is just getting several loads of topsoil. And then I went to a place that does compost, and I got that compost. And so what I did, Mrs. Nutnfancy and I, we mixed in the Kubota front bucket, basically by hand and shovel, those two components. So I'm doing probably a 30 to 40% compost, and the rest is topsoil. And we'll see how we do. Maybe I totally screwed it up, but I think it'll do fine. As the years go by, as this garden grows and changes, I think it will be successful. I'm just going to add, soil boosters to it, compost on top, maybe direct manure as needed. Now, if you want to get scientific about it, there's probably ways that you can test your soil and see what's best for certain plants you're growing. I'm just doing a general blend. It's better than this shit. I mean, trying to grow in this, look at that. That's nothing. That has no nutrients in it, doesn't hold moisture. It's horrible. This is actually mostly, well, I was going to say sand. In other parts, there is a lot of sand here, like right over there. Where you're at, like especially back east, Midwest, your soil may be a-okay. Maybe all you need to do is like a little bit of booster. You're good to go. You do it in the back of your house. Hey, more power to you. You're really lucky. Where I'm at right here, I have to do soil work. Now, if you're doing the planter system, maybe 50-gallon barrels, it's going to be so much easier for you because you can just go to Walmart somewhere, buy that planting soil, and just use that directly. And I think it'd save you a lot of time. I'd prefer to buy it ready mixed if it's up to me. Okay, so that's soil as we're approaching it right now. Moving right along. Nutnfancy project. Gardening video. Holy cow. So fun to be able to do this finally. Make sure you sub, hit the notification bell, become a donor, stay there for the rest of your life, double check your payment methods. I lose donors every month and it demotivates me to do more videos. I ain't lying, I'm just telling the truth. Consider your sun, what you're planting. Again, what you're seeing is a general approach right here. Okay, we're not saying that we're doing exactly right. Like maybe some of these plants need less sun than the others. You know what, whatever. I generally know they like water, they like nutrients in the soil, and they like sunshine. Okay, so I'm giving them that at this location. I'm giving them that. But maybe something you're planting doesn't like direct sun. You're gonna have to have an approach for that. Now, another reason I want to talk about sun is because it also dictated my fence. I was thinking about doing a solid panel fence, either vinyl, maybe pressure treated wood, but that would have been so much more expensive. I did think about it though. I was like, well, if we're gonna do a fence, let's do it right. But then I said, well, as the sun, you know, comes up over here, you know, right there, I don't want to be blocking it with my garden, right? I don't want to block it. So I needed something that the sun could go through. Incidentally, we're going to come to the pest thing, but I actually have a net that will go over the top of this fence, and I'm going to try that. If the birds start causing problems, maybe even the squirrels, I might put the net over there. I did order one and I have it. Again, it's probably not going to work as well as I think it will. Yeah, but I wanted to tie in the amount of sun that you have. I'm sorry, the amount of sun you want will dictate your fence. If you need a fence, I think most of you guys are probably going to do it in your backyard, you know, and you just have a portion there, and that's totally cool. Just don't have it in shade though. We tried planting at the house, and it was not great because there was a lot of shade throughout the day. Okay, and then we talked about the wind, a huge problem out here. Now, what did I plant to end the video? Well, we've got some lettuce, which we bought that big. Again, it costs. Mrs. Nutnfancy has planted marigolds in there to repel insects. She's got them in 4 corners. You can see that. We have broccoli. She planted some squash. What else do we have? I'm forgetting. It's all kinds of fun stuff. Oh, we have watermelon coming out, and I expect the watermelon, if they do well, they're going to come outside the planter and go onto the gravel, because these are, you know, of course, a vine plant. These are seeds that she's planted. I'd have to ask her exactly what's in there. Just tune into future parts if there are future parts, and I'll let you know. These are strawberries over here. Fresh strawberries with no additives. Oh my goodness. What a gift from God. Gift from God. There's a watermelon plant right there, bro. I don't know. I can't see it so bright. Squash. Cucumbers, I think, are planted. Spinach might be in there somewhere. We'll see how we do. So, and again, there's no guarantees when you garden. I mean, we may come back here in a month and all this is dead. For whatever reason, it just died. You know, what are you going to do? I guess regroup and start over. There you have it, boys and girls. Gardening in the Nutnfancy project. This is our above ground grid watering system. Wind protected, hopefully critter protected system. My prediction is it's going to do pretty good. We put a lot of work in this, a lot of just thought and philosophy. As you can see, this is a result of what we planned. This has turned out basically the way we planned it. Come back, let me know what you think. Let me know what your garden system is and how it's been helping your family. Again, if you live in a very compact environment, you can still do a very small garden. If it's just you by yourself, and then just plant for yourself. Figure out what you would like to eat. Maybe figure out a way to preserve it so you don't waste. You don't want to waste what you grow. Either you eat it, preserve it, or you give it away to family and friends. Hopefully you preserve it and you have some way to build up your food supply with your own grown, no additive fruits and vegetables. Nutnfancy, thank you so much. So much more to come. I told you the best days of the Nutnfancy project are still ahead. This is part of what I'm talking about. Part of what I'm talking about. We'll see you.